Hello, hello, hello. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope you're enjoying this beautiful day in the middle of fall. It's Halloween 2025. I want to wish everyone a happy Halloween and wish everyone a safe holiday season as we start gearing up for the holidays here. Now, what I wanted to share with you today was a video on Medicare, open enrollment, and also some of the history behind Medicare and some changes that are happening this year. Now, without further ado, uh, myth number one that I want to debunk for everyone is that once you're enrolled in Medicare, you're done. Now, the number to keep in mind here is 29%. Why is that important, Mark? Oh, well, that is the percentage of people who are enrolled in Medicare and actually review their coverage each year. Now, open enrollment started a couple weeks ago, October 15th. It runs through December 7th. But this is the time of year where there's a lot of opportunity to shop around and look for plans that fit what you're looking for this year. Now, the reality is when we fail to review our coverage each year, we are essentially giving the insurance companies a blank check. No one likes to do that, right? Now, what I hear all the time is, Mark, I'm happy with my plan. Why do I need to review it? I get it. I get it. At the end, I'll share with you a few questions to ask yourself. Do I really need to review my plan? But the reality is that each year, Part D plans, which are your prescription drugs, and any Medicare Advantage plans change every single year. They'll look at your premiums, deductibles, out-of-pocket copays, medications that are covered, the spending limits on those, the pharmacy networks, the provider networks, even restrictions on prior authorization or step therapy. All of these can change even while keeping the same plan each year. Now, 2025 is a historic year because you have the effects of the Inflation Reduction Act taking place this year. So I'll talk about some of the changes, but this year is incredibly important. Now, the Inflation Reduction Act, which was passed a couple of years ago, is now phasing out of some really obscure, complicated Medicare Part D plans and transitioning into what is thought to be a more simpler system. But just be careful because may not be a good thing for everyone. Now, what happened was before the Inflation Reduction Act in 2023, Medicare Part D had 4 payment stages. Stage 1 was the deductible. Here is what you would normally think of the amount that you pay. This is the deductible, just like any type of insurance. Now, in stage 2, you had initial coverage. This is where you would have a copay or you'd have 40% coinsurance or something like that. And this is what everyone thinks about when we think about, kind of insurance and how it typically works. What happened was you had this really incredibly obscure and complicated phase of that once you get past the initial coverage, which was plan members had to pay full cost of medications minus a 75% discount until reaching a specific amount of spending. Now, the phase after this was catastrophic coverage. This was where you were responsible on 5% of the retail cost of any of their medications. Now, what's happening is, as of last year and now phasing in a lot more this year, that consumer's 5% share of cost in the catastrophic coverage is now gone. Also gone is the coverage gap in stage 3. That will now go away as well, that donut hole. And what we'll be left with is stage 1, the deductible, and stage 2, the initial coverage. In this stage 2, what changes were made was the $2,000 per year cap. And that caps that amount of spending on Part D to $2,000 a year. Now, that's great sounds great for everybody, but who's going to pick up these additional costs that were being split in phase 3 and 4? And if you think it's going to be the consumer, you're right. It is never going to be those insurance companies, right? They'll come up with something. So here's what's happening. Of the amount of money being lost in phase 3 and phase 4 due to this cap, they are now looking to increase copays. And so we're seeing a lot of copays getting increases in the amounts that they're looking to pay each copay. And they're going up pretty significantly, especially in certain states like California. Now, when we look at over the next year, in 2025 into 2026, about 25% of Part D plans are going away, completely disappearing. I just did a workshop where I met someone who had their Part D plan that was going away, And so they were looking for moving from Medicare Advantage to original Medicare, and we're looking to understand how this all worked. What I explained was and they showed me their plan, and yes, you guessed it, it was one of these plans down here that was going away. It was the Mutual of Omaha Part D drug plan. Now, there were a few other big ones that have gone away, like the AARP, Medicare Walgreens plan, the SilverScript Smart Saver and Plus plans. All of those are going away with their Part D for this year, and there's a lot more as well. Now, an important thing to remember about this Part D, this Phase 2 cap, it only applies to drugs that are covered under the plan. This does not apply to medications that are outside of the Part D drug plan. So you have to look at that list of drugs that are covered, which is called the formulary. And what you'll find is Part D plan formularies include at least 9 drugs in the most commonly prescribed categories and classes. But as we'll see, there's a big but. This was an analysis done by 65 Incorporated. And what they did was they looked at 3 random zip codes of the clients they had, and they looked at the 14 plans available and what amount of the common 9 insulins were covered. What they found was, of those 14 plans, 5 to 8 of the most common insulins were not covered. Let me repeat that. Of the 14 plans they looked at, 5 to 8 of the most common 9 insulins were not covered. So, when we look at our plan each year and we go through this open enrollment, plan selection is incredibly individualized. It is different for everybody, and that means from one spouse to the other. So having a plan that is clearly the best, it's oftentimes that you'll find that plan is by far the best, and any other plan is either a lot more or a fair amount more expensive. When you look at a myth that that I find a lot, is you could change Medigap policies during open enrollment. Well, there's a big but there. In most states, you can go through medical underwriting to change your Medigap policy, usually through the open enrollment period. Now, if you're in the states of New York and Connecticut, you are part of that exempt group where you get guaranteed issue right. What is guaranteed issue right? Well, before I explain what it is, I want you to know that in Connecticut or New York, you can change Medigap policies at any time, and you are guaranteed to have a policy written for you. If you're in Massachusetts, you get from February 1st to March 31st, where you can change Medigap policies and have guaranteed issue right. And then in Maine, you have Medigap Plan A only available at any time. Guaranteed issue right ensures that a Medigap policy will be written without medical underwriting. This means that the insurance companies cannot deny coverage or raise your premiums based on your medical history. So without a guaranteed issue right, depending on what state you're in, you may not be able to get a Medigap policy. It's incredibly important if you're in Medicare Advantage and you're now looking to shift to a Medigap policy like my friends that I just met last week. Now, you can always change that type of coverage you have is something I heard a lot. But there's a big but there. Yes, people can change plans each year during open enrollment, but changing Medicare paths can be a permanent decision, especially if you have health histories that may cause you not to be able to have a policy written for you. Now, the 2 main paths of Medicare, original Medicare and Medicare Advantage, the costs can vary significantly between the 2, and the path you're on can be permanent. Now, original Medicare is what was originally built and put into place way back when in the 60s. And they were building this government-friendly or government-supported Medicare program, which was meant to be very budget-friendly and affordable for people, and also give them the freedom of choice, where the doctors and the hospitals were the one making the calls and not the insurance companies. You'll see that when we talk about prior authorizations, because prior authorizations are very limited in original Medicare versus Medicare Advantage. Now, with Medicare Advantage, you give up what the government's version of Medicare was, and you now follow the rules of the insurance company. And when that happens, there are 3 rules I want you to remember. Rule number 1 is that networks matter. Networks can change at any time. And just because you have out-of-network coverage doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see out-of-network providers. Now, here's an example of this. Right now, this is an article written September 25th in 2024, that was last year, where 26 health systems were dropping Medicare Advantage plans. Just like my friends I met are experiencing through this. There was a survey done, you'll see. 135 health CFOs were surveyed. 16 of them were planning to stop accepting one or more Medicare Advantage plans in the next 2 years. Another 45% said they were considering the same but have not made a final decision. And then the report that concluded everything was found that 62% of CFOs believed collecting from Medicare Advantage was significantly more difficult than it was 2 years ago. So this is a big driver to what the trend is happening right now with these Medicare Advantage plans going away. But what I want you to take away from this is an important rule here, which is that rule number 2, Medicare Advantage plans are subject to prior authorization rules, which delays critical care. When is prior authorization needed? It is often needed when the person's in extreme health conditions, when they need care the most, when there's a huge surgery that has to be done. That's when you find prior authorization rules. And who wants to be stuck waiting for insurance approval when we have, when you have something like this that needs to be done? But just something to think about. Rule number 3 is with Medicare Advantage plans, you have to pay your deductible, your coinsurance, and your copays all up to the out-of-pocket limit. Now, this out-of-pocket limit for this year for the combined in-network and out-of-network is $14,000. If you're looking at in-network, it's $9,350. This changes throughout the years, but if you looked at Medigap policies, there are many policies that can put an out-of-pocket limit much lower than that, somewhere around $3,000 or so. Of course, you are paying the premium on those, but it is the give and take, a cost-benefit analysis you need to do to see which plan makes the most sense for you. Now, what I want you to look at here is a chart showing you the percentage of Medicare beneficiaries choosing Medicare Advantage. Why? Why is this important, Mark? Well, what you have here, if you look 15 years ago, back in 2010, 1 in 4 Medicare beneficiaries were signing up for Medicare Advantage. And what's happened? Well, a lot of advertising from the companies have gone into this. Even if you go into the Medicare website, you're kind of pushed towards Medicare Advantage. And what's happened now, as of last year, 54% of beneficiaries of Medicare were choosing Medicare Advantage, and that number is expected to go up to 64% in 2034. Now, why is this a bad thing? Well, if you look at the gross margins per enrollee by the type of insurance, you'll see that by far Medicare Advantage, they make a lot more money off of you. If you look at just comparison to Medicaid market, the insurance company makes 125% larger margins than Medicaid insurance and individual or group health insurance for that matter. So they love Medicare Advantage because they know the margins are huge there. Now, if you look at the insurance agents who sell these products, these insurance agents, they can sell a Medigap policy or they can sell a Medicare Advantage policy. And what is the type of money they're making on these? Well, the average total Medicare Advantage plan commissions, if you look over 20 years, came out to $7,765. And if you look at the Medicare Advantage, and if you look at the Medigap plan, they paid out $3,381 over 20 years. Now, why the stark difference? Well, the Medigap policy, they receive commissions only up to 6 years, whereas the Medicare Advantage, they receive commissions for 20 years, basically in perpetuity. So this is a number that they don't want you to see because everyone knows if you pay commissions for 6 years versus 20 years, well, you'd rather pay it for the 6 years. But this is just something to consider when you're deciding between, the two plans. Now, I know I've been hitting Medicare Advantage pretty hard here, but just because I've showed you all this, I don't want to put out there that Medicare Advantage plans are bad or the insurance people who sell them are bad. What I'm pointing out is that the Medicare business itself is incentivizing insurance agents to promote one product over the other, regardless of whether it's in the consumer's best interest, right? So when we look at open enrollment, I want you to consider these 4 questions, okay? If you're deciding, is it a time that I need to go into Medicare enrollment and start to look around and do some shopping around? Well, I want you to look at first, has it been more than 2 years since you last reviewed your Medicare Part D or Advantage plan? Uh, Next, has your health changed since you last reviewed Medicare plans? That's incredibly important, right? Your health has a lot to do with what Medicare plan you should be in. Number three, do you take brand name medications or do you take five or more medications? Uh, this can be incredibly important because, as we talked about Part D plan, drugs changing each year, they could be in one formulary for the drug plan this year and may not be the next year. Lastly, do you and your spouse have the same Part D coverage because it's easier? Is it just more convenient, or have you actually looked at both of your medication plans, both of your needs, and looked at, okay, this year, this is different. We have different needs. We need to start looking at separate policies um, to fit what we need best.